Why is it that some millionaires don't appear wealthy at all? They may actually appear broke. Instead of wearing designer suits, fancy dresses, and high-end shoes, cruising around in luxury cars, they look the same as everyone else on the street, and maybe even worse. If these individuals are so wealthy, how are they spending their money? If you think millionaires spend freely and without consideration, you'd be surprised to see how they actually spend their money and what percentage of their income is allocated to each category. The average person would benefit greatly if they would adapt the spending habits of a millionaire. My name is Chris and I help teach people about money, personal finance, and investing. If you're interested in improving your financial future, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this video is helpful. Thomas Corley, the author of Rich Habits, conducted a study of millionaires over a 5-year period. He sampled over 200 millionaires and analyzed their careers, personality traits, and how they spend their money. They all had net liquid assets of $3.2 million or more, which includes cash, bank deposits, and investments that can quickly be converted to cash, such as shares of stock. They also had an annual gross income of $160,000 or more. Corley found that there are generally 4 very different types of millionaires. The big company climber, someone who works for a large company and devotes all of their time and energy into advancing their corporate career until they find themselves in an executive position with a very high salary. The virtuoso, they are among the best at what they do and they're paid a premium for their knowledge and expertise. Formal education, including advanced degrees often in law or medicine, is usually a requirement. The dreamer entrepreneur, these people are pursuing their dreams, such as starting their own business, becoming an actor, musician, or author. Dreamers are passionate and love their work, and those efforts reward them financially. The fact that they're entrepreneurs makes them unique in that they have no cap in their potential income when compared to an employee. The saver investor, it doesn't matter what their day job is, how high or low their income is, what credentials they have, or what opportunities are presented to them. These individuals prioritize saving and investing consistently, and they're always looking for smart ways to build wealth. This category of millionaires is most relatable to the average person, and they show that becoming a millionaire is a possibility for anyone regardless of their occupation. It's common to think of someone who was a millionaire as a higher up at a Fortune 500 company, or perhaps it was someone who had an idea of a lifetime and was able to build an incredibly successful business. The fact is that most millionaires were able to reach the $1 million threshold by just being an average person in the saver investor category. Being a saver investor and becoming a millionaire has the fewest barriers to entry because you don't need to be a genius, earn extensive degrees, or work unreasonably long hours. They don't take huge investment risks but instead put their money in proven investments with a track record of growth. There are no prerequisites to become a saver investor millionaire. It's possible for anyone, whether or not they graduated from high school or came from poverty, to get on the right track immediately and begin their journey to becoming wealthy. Corley found that in order to become a millionaire by being a part of the saver investor group, you should aim to keep your expenses at 80 or below your net pay, or what you take home. He found that saver investors aim to save at least 20% or more of their income and religiously invested that money. By implementing this frugal mentality and making it a priority to invest, the process of becoming a millionaire is quite simple, and this is the most common way those sampled did it. How do these savers and investors categorize their expenses to remain frugal and avoid reckless spending? Housing, 25% or less of net pay. The largest chunk of most everyone's budget is their housing expense. This could be because individuals often buy too much house for their income. Their rent is no longer affordable. They are unwilling to live with roommates or make other sacrifices. Consequently, they end up spending most of their paycheck on keeping a roof over their head. The saver investor millionaires don't go wild when it comes to this expense, as they keep their housing costs at 25 or less than their monthly take-home pay. When you're content with a small home or apartment, it can greatly reduce not only your rent or mortgage but utilities and other costs that go along with a large space. These individuals are also willing to sacrifice when it comes to location. Instead of insisting that they live in a prime spot in the city, they know the importance of frugality when it comes to housing, and they know that settling for something not quite as desirable will pay off. Overspending in this category makes it nearly impossible to save and invest aggressively. Food, home basics, and more, 15 or less of net pay. This includes food at home, personal care services, and other small household essentials which are non-negotiable for the most part. Cars, 5 or less of net pay. This one might shock you, as transportation is the second largest expense for the average family, coming in just behind housing. The saver investor millionaires spend less than 5% of their take-home pay on transportation. This includes monthly car payments, insurance, gas, tolls, registration fees, repairs, and maintenance. Even though millionaires occasionally have expensive cars, it doesn't mean they're spending a large chunk of their income on them. Clothing 5% or less of net pay. When it comes to their wardrobe, millionaires don't spend wildly on designer brands and jewelry, quite the opposite actually. While there's certainly extremely wealthy individuals who buy luxury brands and have extensive clothing collections in a vast array of accessories, most millionaires wear generic clothing brands. Vacations 5% or less of net pay. It's extremely common for a middle-class family to spend a relative fortune on an annual family vacation, whether it's a trip to Disney during school break or tropical cruise. These are extremely expensive for the average household. The saver investor millionaires spend less than 5% of their net pay on vacations. They don't deprive themselves of travel and leisure, but they take modest, inexpensive vacations that don't cost so much that they have no money left over for future travel and other everyday expenses. How does this compare to an average or slightly above family who spends $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 on a family vacation? Entertainment 10% or less of net pay. This includes bars and restaurants, takeout, movies, music, books, and streaming services. These expenses are part of a balanced lifestyle, but the joy received is short-lived and not really memorable. How can a regular person save 20 or more of their income to put towards their future? Let's say you earn a modest amount of $50,000 per year. Saving 20% of your take-on pay would end up being around $750 per month. By learning some strategies to reduce typically large budget lines and slowly increasing income, this is a very doable amount. These millionaires are careful when it comes to what are typically the two largest costs for any household, because they know overspending in these categories could make it impossible to save consistently. They are frugal in regards to their housing costs, meaning they don't buy or rent more space than they need, and they are willing to sacrifice when it comes to location. They are also careful when it comes to transportation, and they don't waste money buying more expensive vehicles than needed. Keeping what are typically the largest household expenses in check is key to being a successful saver investor. Regardless of how each type of millionaire is categorized, they all have similar personality traits when it comes to money. They're aware of how they spend their money and generally don't waste it. They focus on quality, and they know that being cheap doesn't equal saving money. The good news is that these spending habits are easy for the average person to put in place. Consider how the saver investors are spending their money and how their income is categorized so you can do the same.